Welcome to The Way to Wellness, your go-to space for personal growth, self-improvement, and, let's be honest, figuring out how to actually get things done. Today, we're diving into a topic that has sabotaged productivity for centuries: procrastination. You know, that little voice that sweetly whispers, tomorrow's good, while you somehow end up deep cleaning your fridge instead of doing the actual thing you need to do. But here's the twist. What if procrastination isn't laziness at all? What if it's actually your brain sending you a message, trying to tell you something important? That changes everything, right? So today, we're unpacking it all. The science behind procrastination, why our brains crave instant gratification like a toddler hopped up on birthday cake, how perfectionism, self-doubt, and emotional avoidance trap us in a cycle of delay. Spoiler, it's way deeper than just bad time management. Neuroscience-backed hacks to break free. Things like the 5-second rule and time boxing, basically Jedi mind tricks for your to-do list. Why forgiving yourself might actually be the cheat code to overcoming procrastination. Turns out, self-hate isn't a productivity hack. And here's the real kicker. What if procrastination is actually your brain's way of nudging you towards something that matters more? So, grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's figure out what's really going on when you put things off. Because once we understand why we procrastinate, we can stop fighting it and start working with our brains instead. All right, here's the truth. Procrastination isn't about being lazy. It's about avoiding discomfort. Think about it. When faced with a daunting task, suddenly rearranging your bookshelf by color or researching the life expectancy of sea turtles feels urgent. Not because those things actually matter, but because they don't stress you out the way the real task does. It's like our brains are starring in their own sitcom, The Avoidance Adventures, featuring you as the lead character. And this isn't just some quirky personality trait. There's actual science behind it. Enter the procrastination equation, basically the psychology version of E equals MC squared. Don't worry, no physics required. It boils down to 3 key factors. Expectancy. How likely do you think you are to succeed? Value. How much does the outcome actually matter to you? Delay. How far away is the reward or consequence? Let's put that into perspective. Imagine you're prepping for karaoke night. If you're convinced you're going to crush it, high expectancy, the prize is unlimited pizza, high value, and it's happening in just a few hours. Low delay, you're probably motivated to practice. But if you think you'll sound like a dying walrus, low expectancy, the prize is a used spatula, low value, and the event isn't for another year, high delay. Suddenly, scrolling TikTok seems like a far better use of time. And here's where it gets even trickier. Our brains are wired to chase instant gratification. Mel Robbins, Andrew Huberman, and pretty much every neuroscientist with a microphone will tell you, dopamine runs the show. That's why, when faced with something difficult, we suddenly develop an urgent need to deep clean the toaster or perfectly fold our laundry. Each tiny, easy task gives us a little dopamine hit. Boom, instant reward. Even though we're completely avoiding the important thing. It's like Homer Simpson reaching for another donut, except the donut is reorganizing your sock drawer instead of doing your taxes. So, how do we break the cycle? Huberman has an interesting take. If you want to escape procrastination, do something even more uncomfortable. Sounds backwards, right? Almost like he's saying, lean into the pain. But there's a method to the madness. Breaking out of procrastination isn't just about willpower. It's about strategy. And sometimes that means shocking the system. Andrew Huberman suggests using short bursts of discomfort, like a cold shower or a quick, intense workout. It's like hitting a mental reset button. You expose yourself to a small challenge, and suddenly, that looming deadline doesn't seem so overwhelming, kind of like a metaphorical defibrillator for your productivity. But what if procrastination isn't just about avoiding a task? What if it runs deeper? Some researchers suggest that procrastination can actually be rooted in tiny, overlooked traumas, those small, unmet needs from childhood that subtly shape our behavior as adults. It's like we have to become emotional archaeologists, digging through our past to understand the patterns we've unknowingly carried with us. For example, if you grew up constantly being criticized, you might procrastinate to avoid the feeling of judgment. If your self-worth was always tied to achievements, putting off tasks could be a subconscious way of dodging failure. But this isn't about blaming the past. It's about recognizing that sometimes procrastination is a form of self-protection, a fortress of avoidance. Like Never Been Kissed, but instead of waiting for a grand rom-com moment to fix everything, we actually have to do the work. And that's where Mel Robbins' 5-second rule comes in. It's not magic. It's a way to interrupt the procrastination loop before it spirals. When you feel the urge to put something off, count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move, even if it's just for 5 minutes. It's like tricking your brain into taking action before it can talk itself out of it. Think of it like Indiana Jones swapping the bag of sand for the idol. You don't give yourself time to hesitate. You just do it. And once you start, you realize the task isn't as terrifying as it seemed. But internal resistance isn't the only enemy here. External distractions are everywhere. The just one more episode trap, the endless notifications. It's like we're living in a Black Mirror episode designed to keep us from getting anything done. And that's where productivity techniques like time boxing come into play. Time boxing is basically putting your day on a personalized schedule, blocking out specific times for work, meetings, and even worrying. Yes, you heard that right. Scheduled worry time. Think of it as a mental panic room where your stress gets its own time slot instead of hijacking your entire day. And by visually planning your time, you're not just organizing your tasks. You're also setting up a defense system against those people who always have just one quick question. It's basically a do not disturb sign for your life, but without the passive-aggressive undertones. So now we've got internal strategies like the 5-second rule and external defense mechanisms like time boxing. But what happens when, despite our best efforts, we still end up procrastinating? That's where self-forgiveness comes in. Both Mel Robbins and Dr. Ferrari emphasize that beating yourself up over procrastination just leads to more procrastination. It's like being stuck in Groundhog Day, waking up to "I got you, babe" on repeat while making the same mistakes over and over. It's torture, not a solution. Procrastination isn't just a personal struggle, it's a societal one. We live in a hyper-connected world where our attention is constantly under siege. It's like being trapped in a giant digital pinball machine, bouncing from one notification to the next. No wonder we have trouble focusing. It's overwhelming, like we're living in a real-life idiocracy, except instead of guzzling Brondo, we're consuming an endless stream of distractions. So, what's the solution? Do we all need to go full hermit and live off the grid? Maybe. But a more realistic approach is setting intentional boundaries with technology on both an individual and a societal level. That means structuring our time, limiting distractions, and advocating for policies that promote a more mindful relationship with digital tools. In a way, it's like unplugging from the matrix, or at least renegotiating the terms of our relationship with our digital overlords. But here's an interesting counterpoint. Could procrastination actually be a healthy response to this always-on culture? Maybe our reluctance to immediately answer every email, reply to every message, or jump into every task isn't just avoidance. Maybe in some cases, it's an act of quiet rebellion, a way of saying, "No, I will not be a productivity machine today. I will take a walk. I will read a book. I will stare out the window and just exist for a moment." Because the truth is, we're not robots. We're human beings. And sometimes our minds need that pause. That being said, even with the best intentions, we're going to slip up. Deadlines will loom, distractions will call, and suddenly, we'll find ourselves in procrastination purgatory again. That's where self-compassion comes in. Beating ourselves up over procrastination just creates more of it. It's like getting stuck in a Groundhog Day loop of self-criticism. Wake up, procrastinate, feel guilty, repeat. Instead of self-punishment, the key is self-forgiveness. Mel Robbins talks about how recognizing that we're human, that we all stumble, actually helps us move forward. It's not about excusing bad habits. It's about breaking the shame cycle so we can make real progress. Think Rocky. He gets knocked down, but he keeps getting back up. That's what matters. Success isn't about never procrastinating. It's about having the resilience to refocus and keep going, even when we mess up. At the end of the day, procrastination and self-forgiveness are two sides of the same coin. The more we understand why we procrastinate, the better we can break the habit. And when we inevitably fall short, being kind to ourselves can make all the difference in getting back on track. That scene in Good Will Hunting, Robin Williams telling Matt Damon, "It's not your fault." That's the kind of self-compassion we need when we procrastinate. Sometimes we just need to hear those words. even if it's from ourselves. It's about letting go of guilt and using procrastination as a learning experience rather than a personal failure. Instead of seeing it as a weakness, we can reframe it as an opportunity to build resilience and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. But what about when we feel completely stuck? That's where seeking support can be a game changer. Whether it's a therapist, a coach, a friend, or even an online community, having someone to guide you, cheer you on, and hold you accountable makes a huge difference. It's like having your own personal Yoda, a wise mentor who helps you navigate those mental roadblocks. And sometimes just knowing you're not alone in your struggles is incredibly empowering. Think Lord of the Rings. Frodo wouldn't have gotten far without the Fellowship. We all need our own Fellowship of Procrastination Fighters. Now, there's another interesting angle here, the connection between procrastination and ADHD. A lot of people assume that ADHD naturally leads to procrastination, but the research suggests it's not that simple. There's some overlap, but the root causes are often different. Procrastination is usually tied to emotional regulation, while ADHD tends to involve executive function struggles, things like planning, organizing, and impulse control. It's like having a Ferrari engine, but faulty brakes. Tons of power, but difficulty controlling it. It's not about willpower. It's about managing emotions like overwhelm, anxiety, or boredom that make starting tasks feel impossible. That's why traditional time management techniques like strict schedules and rigid to-do lists don't always work for people with ADHD. Those systems rely on executive function skills that might be impaired, which is basically like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So what does work? Research points to strategies that focus on emotional regulation, like body doubling, working alongside someone else, even virtually, to stay engaged, gamification, turning tasks into a game with small rewards, external cues, using alarms, timers, and visual reminders to prompt action, interest-based work, finding ways to make tasks engaging or meaningful, movement breaks, incorporating physical activity to reset focus. It's all about working with the brain's natural tendencies instead of against them. Mindfulness, self-compassion, and structured routines, these aren't just nice ideas. They're essential tools for staying on track, especially when impulses are strong. It's about designing an environment that supports focus instead of fighting against it. And for those with ADHD, seeking professional guidance from someone who actually understands its nuances can make all the difference. Because let's be real, what works for one person might be completely useless for another. That's also why the whole chemical imbalance theory of ADHD is a bit misleading. Medication can be a game changer for some, but it's not a magic cure. It doesn't automatically erase procrastination or fix executive function struggles. The real key? Developing coping mechanisms, strategies, and lifestyle changes that help people with ADHD thrive. It's about shifting the focus from deficits to possibilities, recognizing ADHD not as something that needs to be fixed, but as a different way of engaging with the world. And honestly, that applies to procrastination in general. It's not just about bad time management. It's shaped by our psychology, our environment, and even societal norms. But the good news? We're not powerless against it. We have self-awareness. We have strategies. We have support. It's not about never procrastinating. It's about learning how to navigate it, recognizing when it's happening, and course-correcting with self-compassion instead of self-judgment. Because at the end of the day, overcoming procrastination isn't about finding the perfect hack. It's about intentionality. It's about uncovering what's really driving your procrastination, whether it's fear, perfectionism, overwhelm, or something else entirely. And it's about having the tools and support to move forward step by step. And speaking of steps, small ones matter. You don't have to transform overnight. Start with one small change. Try one new strategy. Practice one act of self-compassion. It's like that classic saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Every step you take toward overcoming procrastination is a step toward a more fulfilling life. So if you're feeling stuck, just take that one step. Because forward is forward, no matter how small. Self-doubt, the ultimate villain in the procrastination saga. It's that inner critic whispering, you're not good enough. Or, what's the point of even trying? It's like having a personal heckler living in your brain ready to sabotage every goal before you even start. And Justin Sun's work breaks it down perfectly. These feelings of not measuring up can actually fuel procrastination in a way that keeps us stuck. This ties into something called self-worth theory, which suggests that we all have a deep need to feel capable and valuable. But when those feelings are shaky, we subconsciously avoid situations that might confirm our worst fears, that we're not enough. It's like playing an emotional game of Jenga, carefully avoiding anything that might send our self-esteem tumbling down. And this is exactly where perfectionism sneaks in. The idea of being perfect sounds great in theory, but in reality, it's procrastination's best friend. When we tie our self-worth to always succeeding, we put ourselves under so much pressure that we become paralyzed. It's like being trapped in our own personal Squid Game, where the prize is our self-esteem, and the only way to win is to never make a mistake. No wonder we'd rather not play at all. That's when procrastination swoops in, acting as a shield. If we don't start, we can't fail, right? But here's the kicker. This avoidance actually strengthens those negative beliefs, creating a vicious cycle of self-doubt and inaction. It's like a back to the future paradox. Our fear of failure causes the very thing we're trying to avoid. But here's the good news. We have the power to change this narrative. We can rewrite the script. It starts with challenging limiting beliefs and recognizing that our worth isn't based on achievements or what others think. It comes from within. Instead of saying, I'm a failure because I procrastinated, try saying, I'm learning, I'm growing. This one setback doesn't define me. It's like giving yourself a pep talk, Coach Taylor style. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Even when it comes to procrastination, realizing that you're valuable, flaws and all, is a game changer. It shifts the focus from trying to earn your worth through achievement to simply owning the fact that you're enough, just as you are. And that ties right into something Mel Robbins emphasizes. Forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving ourselves. Because beating yourself up for procrastinating, that's like adding fuel to the fire. It's the Empire Strikes Back all over again. Yoda warned Luke that fear is the path to the dark side, and self-criticism works the same way. Dwelling on mistakes just leads to more self-sabotage. The real move is self-compassion, acknowledging that, yeah, you procrastinated, but that doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. Instead of berating yourself, try saying, hey, I see you, inner procrastinator. I get why you're doing this, but let's learn from it and move forward. That's not weakness, that's strength. It's giving yourself permission to be imperfect. You don't have to be a productivity machine every second of the day. Off days? Totally allowed. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Procrastination might actually be a signal from your deeper self. What if the tasks you're avoiding are trying to tell you something? Maybe you need to reevaluate your priorities. Maybe you're saying yes too much and need to set better boundaries. Maybe something in your life isn't aligned with what you truly want. It's like an inner GPS trying to reroute you. But instead of listening, we just keep ignoring the directions. The Matrix moment. Do you take the blue pill and stay in the cycle, or do you take the red pill and wake up to the reality that something needs to change? What if procrastination isn't about laziness at all? What if it's about wanting a more authentic and fulfilling life? That changes everything. So instead of judging yourself when you procrastinate, try being curious about it. Ask yourself, what is this procrastination trying to teach me? What needs am I ignoring? What changes do I need to make? This has been quite the journey, unpacking the science, the psychology, the societal influences, and of course, the pop culture wisdom. And it all connects to one undeniable truth. We have the power to change. It's the Wizard of Oz moment. Dorothy realizes she had the power to go home all along. Maybe the power to overcome procrastination has been inside you this whole time too. So go out there, embrace your imperfections, celebrate your progress. And remember, even the greatest journeys start with a single step. That's a wrap on today's exploration of procrastination here on The Way to Wellness. We've peeled back the layers, debunked some myths, and even uncovered the hidden wisdom behind why we put things off. Let's hit the highlights. Procrastination isn't about laziness. It's often an emotional coping mechanism, not a character flaw. Perfectionism and self-doubt? Yeah, they're best friends with procrastination, keeping us stuck in avoidance mode. Powerful strategies, like time boxing, the Pomodoro technique, and body doubling can help us take action instead of overthinking. Self-forgiveness is a game changer because shaming yourself only fuels the cycle. And the biggest revelation, Procrastination might actually be a message from your inner self, nudging you toward a life that's more aligned with what truly matters. So as you head back into your day, remember this: you are not defined by your procrastination. You have the power to shift your focus, rewrite your story, and take back your time. One step, one choice, one action at a time. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs that little push. And don't forget to subscribe to The Way to Wellness for more insights on personal growth, self-improvement, and mastering the mind. Until next time, keep moving forward.
Wait, what?